Welcome back to the Gold IRA Blueprint podcast. You know, we're all about making those smart choices for your retirement savings. And today we're really going deep. We're diving deep into gold ETFs and how they can fit into your IRA strategy.
Yeah, a lot of people are really interested in gold. It's this safe haven asset, but maybe they're not quite ready to, buy those big gold bars. So that's where gold ETFs come in. It's a way more accessible way to get involved in the gold market.
Exactly. And for those of you who are ready to start exploring gold IRAs right now, don't forget to head over to goldirablueprint.com/exclusive. We've got a free checklist there to help you pick the right gold IRA company for you. But back to gold ETFs.
hmm
So if I'm getting this right, you're basically buying shares in a fund that follows the price of gold, meaning your investment will go up and down as the gold market does.
Yeah, that's the basic idea. Think of it like you're just dipping your toes in the gold pool. You don't have to go and build some big vault in your basement. But of course, taxes. Taxes are super important, especially when we're talking about retirement accounts like IRAs.
Right, because IRAs have their own set of rules, and those rules can get a little bit tricky when you start adding gold to the mix.
Yeah, for sure. That's where the difference between a traditional IRA and a Roth IRA really matters.
So let's break that down for a second. For those listeners who might be new to IRAs, can you quickly explain what each type is all about?
Absolutely. So with a traditional IRA, you're putting in pre-tax money, which means you get a tax deduction right away. Then your investments grow tax deferred. And you only pay taxes when you take money out during retirement.
Okay, so it's like you're delaying paying taxes until later. What about a Roth IRA?
With a Roth IRA, you put in money you've already paid taxes on, but when you retire, any money you take out, it's completely tax-free. So any profits you made from investments, including profits on gold ETFs, you won't owe any taxes on that money when you take it out.
Got it. So traditional IRA, tax break now and you pay taxes later. Roth IRA,
hmm
pay taxes now and then withdrawals are tax-free later. But how does all this apply to gold ETFs specifically?
Well, it doesn't matter if you pick a traditional or a Roth IRA. The money your gold ETFs make within the IRA, that growth is tax deferred. So that means you don't have to pay taxes on those gains until you actually take the money out.
Okay, that makes sense. But I'm still a little unsure about how those tax rates would actually work. Let's say I'm ready to cash out some of my gold ETF holdings in my IRA. What kind of tax rate am I looking at?
Well, it's not as easy as just giving you a fixed number. It depends on what type of IRA you have and how you decide to access the funds.
What do you mean by how you choose to access the funds?
You basically have two options. You can sell your gold ETFs within the IRA, or you can withdraw the money from the IRA.
Okay, so let's talk about those two options. What happens if I sell my gold ETFs but keep the money in my IRA?
You can think of it like just rearranging the furniture within your IRA. You're selling the gold ETF shares, but that money stays inside the IRA, and you can even use it to buy a different investment.
Yeah.
The key here is no taxes. As long as that money stays within the IRA, you won't owe any taxes yet.
So it's like a tax-free shuffle within the IRA. But what if I want to take the money out, like a
Wait,
withdrawal?
that's when you start thinking about those tax implications. If you have a traditional IRA, any money you take out, it's taxed as regular income. So whatever your tax bracket is that year, that's the rate you'll pay on those distributions.
So if I'm in a higher tax bracket when I retire, those withdrawals could really hurt.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility, but it's important to remember, if you think you'll be in a lower tax bracket when you're retired, a traditional IRA might be the better option. You're basically moving that tax burden to a time when you'll pay a lower rate.
Interesting. So it's like a gamble on your future taxes.
Mhm.
But what about Roth IRAs? Didn't you say withdrawals from those are tax-free?
Yes, but there are rules to make those withdrawals qualified, and one of the big ones is age. You usually need to be at least 59 and a half years old. Otherwise, there are penalties.
Penalties. What kind of penalties are we talking about?
Usually, it's an extra 10% penalty. On top of your regular income tax, it's the IRS's way of keeping people from using their IRA, like a savings account. They're for retirement. So there's that incentive to not touch that money until you reach retirement age.
Okay, so that's a pretty big penalty. So if I'm thinking about gold ETFs in my IRA,
Hmm.
I really need to be in it for the long haul. No early withdrawals unless I want to deal with the IRS.
Exactly. Long-term planning is key. Of course, there are some exceptions to those early withdrawal penalties, like if you use the money for certain qualified expenses. But overall, the goal is to let those investments grow until retirement.
Got it. So we've covered the tax advantages of gold ETFs in both traditional and Roth IRAs. And we talked about what happens when you sell them compared to when you withdraw them. But what about other reporting stuff? Does the IRS keep an eye on all of our gold ETF transactions?
Oh, absolutely. You have to report any income from investments and any transactions on your tax return. That includes any gains or losses when you take money out of your IRA. It's really important to keep accurate records of all your gold ETF transactions. You know, the IRS, they love paperwork.
Right. No funny business with those gold ETFs. I'll make sure Uncle Sam is happy and keep those records organized.
Yeah.
But let's say I want to go beyond just ETFs. I'm interested in holding actual gold in my IRA. Like,
Hmm.
you know, gold coins or bars. Is that even allowed?
It definitely is. But it comes with its own set of rules and things can get complicated.
Mhm.
Not all gold is the same to the IRS. They have standards for how pure the coins and bars need to be. For example, the American Gold Eagle and the Canadian Gold Maple Leaf are popular choices because they meet those IRS standards.
So I can't just go and take my grandma's jewelry and put those gold trinkets in my IRA. There are certain requirements I have to meet.
Exactly. And those requirements apply to other precious metals, too. So if you're thinking about silver, platinum, or palladium for your IRA, each of those metals comes with its own set of guidelines from the IRS.
This is starting to sound kind of overwhelming. There's a lot of details and small things to keep track of. Maybe this is where that free checklist at goldirablueprint.com/exclusive comes in handy.
That checklist can be a great place to start, especially if you're feeling a little lost when it comes to gold IRAs. And of course, talking to a financial advisor who specializes in IRAs can give you personalized advice. They can help you figure out your own specific situation.
That makes sense. Sometimes you just need an expert to help you navigate these complicated financial things.
Exactly. Welcome back to the Gold IRA Blueprint podcast. We're digging deeper into using gold for your retirement.
We've been talking about the tax benefits of having gold ETFs in an IRA, but I want to zoom out a bit.
What do you mean?
We've discussed those tax advantages. But why do people even want gold for retirement? What's the appeal beyond just taxes?
That's a really good question. It goes back to why gold has been valuable for centuries. A lot of people see gold as a way to protect yourself from inflation. You know, when everything gets more expensive, the price of gold tends to hold steady. Sometimes it even goes up. So it can help you keep up with those rising prices.
It's kind of like a safety net if the economy takes a hit.
Exactly. It can potentially help you keep your savings from losing value because of inflation. And another thing, gold doesn't usually move in the same way as stocks and bonds.
Oh, interesting.
So if the stock market takes a downturn, gold might stay the same or even go up in value, which gives your portfolio some diversification.
Right. It's always good to spread out your investments.
Absolutely. That's a fundamental principle of investing. And gold can be a really unique part of that diversification strategy. It's not about putting all your money into gold, but it can be a strategic element to potentially make your portfolio more stable.
So having some gold could help smooth things out during those retirement years.
That's the idea. Of course, like any investment, there are risks with gold. Its price can go up and down. And just because it's done well in the past doesn't mean it'll do well in the future. But for a lot of investors, those potential benefits, like protection from inflation and diversification, they make gold a good addition to their retirement plan.
Okay, I'm starting to understand why people like gold for retirement. Well, let's change gears for a minute. We talked earlier about putting physical gold in an IRA, like those American Gold Eagle coins. What are the pluses and minuses of going the physical gold route compared to just using gold ETFs?
That's a big decision for anyone thinking about a gold IRA. With those gold ETFs, you have the convenience of buying and selling shares on the market. It's just like buying and selling stocks. You can adjust your holdings pretty easily.
So it's more hands-on for
Right.
people who like to actively manage their investments.
Right. And some investors like that level of control. But with physical gold, you actually own something tangible. You have that feeling of owning something real. It's stored in a secure depository, one that's approved by the IRS. So your investment is protected.
So it's like you have a piece of financial history tucked away for retirement.
Kind of. And some investors find that really comforting, having that physical gold. They might not get that same feeling from ETFs. But it's important to remember, owning physical gold has extra costs. Things like storage fees and insurance.
Yeah, that makes sense. You're paying for that security and peace of mind, knowing your gold is safe. But what about when you want to use that gold during retirement? Is it difficult to actually get your hands on those coins?
It's not necessarily hard, but there is a process. Remember when we talked about selling within an IRA versus taking a distribution? If you want to physically have your gold, That's considered a distribution, and it comes with those same tax rules we talked about.
So I can't just walk into the depository and say, give me my gold.
Not exactly. There's paperwork to fill out and procedures to follow, and those taxes will depend on what type of IRA you have. Like with a traditional IRA, those distributions are taxed as ordinary income. But with a Roth IRA, if you meet those conditions for a qualified withdrawal, you might be able to get your gold tax-free.
Wow. Tax-free gold. That sounds like a retirement dream. But let's be real. Not everyone wants to keep a bunch of gold coins under their mattress. Are there other things you can do with physical gold in an IRA?
You actually have a lot of flexibility. You can always sell your gold within the IRA and use that money to buy other assets. Or you could roll it over into a different kind of retirement account. There are lots of different strategies. The best approach depends on your individual situation and what you're trying to achieve financially.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all thing. You have choices and control over your gold, whether it's in ETFs or physical holdings.
Exactly. And that's why you really need to do your research, understand how gold IRAs work, and talk to a financial advisor who knows this stuff. They can help you figure out the pros and cons of each option and come up with a plan that fits with your overall retirement goals. Speaking of which, have you downloaded our free checklist yet? It's at goldirablueprint.com/exclusive. It's really helpful for anyone who's thinking about a gold IRA.
Oh yeah, that's a great reminder. That checklist can be a great resource. If you're feeling a little lost with all this gold IRA stuff, it's full of helpful tips and insights to make those smart decisions. But we're just getting started here. There's still so much more to talk about. When we come back, we'll dive into some of the smaller details and potential problems to avoid when it comes to gold IRAs. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Gold IRA Blueprint Podcast.
Helping you secure your financial future with gold IRAs.
Absolutely. We've talked about so much. Gold ETFs, physical gold in an IRA, even some of those potential problems to watch out for. But I'm wondering, what else should people be thinking about as they explore gold IRAs?
One thing to definitely keep in mind is fees. Like with any investment, gold IRAs have different kinds of fees, like account setup fees, storage fees if you have physical gold, and annual fees just to maintain the account.
So it's not as simple as just the price of gold. There are these other costs too.
Right. And those fees can be really different depending on who you choose to manage your gold IRA. That's why you have to do your research, compare prices from different companies, and read all that fine print before you commit to one. Oh, and speaking of which, that free checklist at goldirablueprint.com/exclusive can really help. You can compare different gold IRA companies.
That's a good point. Like with any big financial decision, you want to know what you're getting into, make sure you're getting a good deal. What other red flags should people be watching out for?
Another thing to be careful of is scams. Unfortunately, there are some shady people out there who try to take advantage of investors in the gold market.
So we're talking about companies that make big promises about returns that are too good to be true, or use really pushy sales tactics.
Exactly. If a company says they guarantee a certain return on your gold investment, or if they try to pressure you into making a quick decision, be careful. Remember, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah, trust your gut. If something seems off, walk away. But how can people avoid these scams? How can they find a trustworthy gold IRA company?
You have to do your homework, research the company really well, check out their history, read reviews from other customers, and look for any warning signs like complaints filed against them or legal problems.
So it's not just about finding the lowest fees. You want a company that has a good reputation, one that's known for doing things the right way.
Exactly. You're trusting them with a big part of your retirement savings, so you want to be sure they're a company you can rely on.
Okay, so we've covered fees, scams, and picking a reputable company. Any other advice for people who are thinking about a gold IRA?
Don't forget, a gold IRA isn't some way to get rich quickly. It's a long-term plan. The price of gold can go up and down in the short term, but over time, it can help protect you from inflation, and it can add diversification to your retirement portfolio.
So it's not about trying to time the market perfectly or trying to make a quick profit. It's about using gold as part of your overall strategy for retirement.
Exactly. Think of it as one piece of the puzzle, not the whole picture. And remember, having a well-diversified portfolio, one that matches how much risk you're comfortable with and your financial goals. That's the key to having a successful retirement.
This has been such an informative deep dive. We've gone through so much, the ins and outs of gold ETFs, all the details of having physical gold in an IRA, even some potential problems to watch out for. It's clear that gold IRAs can be a really useful tool for planning your retirement. But just like any financial decision, You have to do your research and think things through carefully.
I totally agree. Knowing what you're doing is essential to making good choices about your financial future.
And for anyone who's ready to take that next step, don't forget about our free checklist. Just head over to goldirablueprint.com/exclusive. It's packed with helpful tips for navigating the world of gold IRAs.
Yeah, it's a great resource, especially if you're feeling overwhelmed by all this information.
Thanks for joining us on the Gold IRA Blueprint podcast. We'll see you next time for another deep dive into the world of retirement planning. Until then, we hope your golden years are full of financial security and peace of mind.